Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my read through and review of The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Also, please check out the links in every episode description for our friends of the show. Jen, the Arcane Observer, co-host of this show, as well as Michael Strange and his own show, Troubled Minds Radio and Network. The Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP, digital broadcasting, where you can hear past episodes of my show and others from other shows as well on the network. I can talk, I swear. Other people on the network that have amazing shows as well. And that takes care of all that. Just before I start reading here, I'm reviewing The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. This is a older book, and so the views in the book expressed by Charles Fort may not be my own or yours. So I'm just reading the book, and I'm talking about the paranormal and or anomalous experiences people have. So just keep that in mind. And I do not, like I said, if you hear something that doesn't seem like me, that's because it's from a book I'm reading. It's not from me directly. So it's not my own idea, unless I say so. Anyway, all that done, all the disclaimers out of the way, we can get back to this book here. So once I click on that and find where we left off. Okay. Last show we left off with Fort talking about black rains and black snowflakes coming down from the sky. So we start off here again. It says, a correspondent to Knowledge 5-190 writes of a black rain that fell in the Clyde Valley, March 1, 1884, of another black rain that fell 2 days later. According to the correspondent, a black rain had fallen in the Clyde Valley, March 20th, 1828. Then again, March 22nd, 1828. According to Nature 9-43, a black rain fell at Marlsford, England, September 4, 1873. More than 24 hours later, another black rain fell in the same small town. The black rains of Slains, not sure about that. Also, I'm going to butcher pronunciations all over the place. I apologize for that. According to Reverend James Rust, that's quite the last name, and in parentheses here it says Scottish Showers, which is a title apparently. A black rain at Slains, January 14, 1862. Another at Carluke, 140 miles from Slains, May 1, 1862. At Slains, May 20, 1862. Slains, October 28, 1863. So these are all accounts, all occurrences of this black rain. But after two of these showers, vast quantities of a substance described sometimes as pumice stone, but sometimes as slag, were washed upon the sea coast near Slains. A chemist's opinion is given that this substance was slag, that it was not a volcanic product. Slag from comitant that is irreconcilable with origin of from factory chimneys. Whatever it may have been, the quantity of this substance was so enormous that, in Mr. Rust's opinion, To have produced so much of it would have required the united output of all the smelting works in the world. If slag it were, we accept that an artificial product has, in enormous quantities, fallen from the sky. If you don't think that such occurrences are damned by science, read Scottish Showers and see how impossible it was for the author to have this matter taken up by the scientific world. The first and second rains corresponded in time with ordinary ebullitions of Vesuvius. The third and fourth, according to Mr. Rust, corresponded with no known volcanic activities upon this earth. Well, Science for 11-26, and I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. That between October 1863 and January 1866, 4 more black rains fell at Slains, Scotland. The writer of this supplementary account tells us, with a better or more unscrupulous orthodoxy, that Mr. Rust's, that of the 8 black rains, 5 coincided with eruptions of Vesuvius and 3 with eruptions of Etna. The fate of all explanation is to close one door, only to have another fly wide open. I should say that my own notions upon this subject will be considered irrational, but at least my gregariousness is satisfied in associating here with the preposterous, or this writer and those who think in his rut have to say that they can think of 4 discharges from one far distant volcano passing over a great part of Europe, precipitating nowhere else, discharging precisely over one small northern parish, but also 3 other discharges from another far distant volcano, showing the same precise preference, if not marksmanship, for one small parish in Scotland. So, and this is a point that I've heard, there's many other podcasts that have kind of reviewed some of a lot of Charles Fort's work, and they've all touched on this as well. The idea that some of these things can be natural, the natural discharges from volcanoes or whatever, that's fine in a way, if you want to think that. But then the other problem with that is these things happen sometimes in extremely small areas. In other words, like Fort says there, the place where everything landed is relatively small to the amount of the material that landed. And it doesn't make sense for it all to just land in one spot and not land in other places along the way or after or past that one spot. So that is one of the other amazing things about all these accounts that Fort writes about. And now that I've said that, I lost my spot. But let's see here if I can find it again. That's what I get for checking on chat. Sorry about that. Okay. I think I found it. Did I? Okay. Marksmanship. There we go. My own notion is of an island near an oceanic trade route. It might receive debris from passing vessels 7 times in 4 years. Other concomitants of black rains. From what I can tell, that just means occurrences. Anyway, In Tim's yearbook, TIMB, 1851 270, excuse me, there is an account of, quotation marks, a sort of rumbling as of wagons, heard for upward of an hour, without ceasing, in quotation marks. July 16, 1850. Belwick Rectory, Northampton, England. On the 19th, a black rain fell. In Nature, 30-6, a correspondent writes of an intense darkness at Preston, England. April 26, 1884, page 32. Another correspondent writes of black rain at Crow, near Worcester. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. April 26. That a week later, or May 3rd, it had fallen again. Another account of black rain upon the 28th of April, near Church Shetton, so intense that the following day, brooks were still dyed with it. According to 4 accounts by correspondents to Nature, there were earthquakes in England at this time. Or the black rain of Canada, November 9, 1819. Just a pause there. I'm not sure. I've never heard of earthquakes in England before. That's different. I don't think I've ever heard that before. At least not in recent times. I'm going to just stop here for a brief second and do a quick web search. Find out. There we go. Just doing a quick web search to find out when the last earthquake was. And okay, so they do have them. All right. According to a basic web search, it says the last one was a year ago. I had not heard this. So, but anyway, let's get back to the material here. I just saw a notification from the recording bot. But okay. So it doesn't look like anything is broken right now, so that's good, as far as not immediately broken. So we can continue. So let me get back to the chat here. And I'm really, if anyone does any recording or is thinking about doing any recording and you use Discord, I would definitely, I should have done this a long time ago. I'd highly recommend Craig, which is this recording software, recording bot that works within Discord. And so yeah, just a quick plug there. I'll get links. I should get links and have them in the episode description or something, or at least mention them once in a while, because it is. I actually, anyway, that's I'm getting sidetracked here. So back to the material. Oh man. Okay. So, see. Okay, so or the Black Rain of Canada, November 9, 1819. This time it is orthodoxy to attribute the black rain or black precipitate to smoke of forest fires south of the Ohio River. Zerker, author name, I guess, Meteors, page 238. That this black rain was accompanied by shocks like those of an earthquake, in quotation marks. Edinburgh Philosophical Journal, there we go, 2-381. That the earthquake had occurred at the climax of intense darkness and the fall of black rain. So again, getting through that whole section of all these accounts of black rain, but also earthquakes at the same time, which is really wild. Okay, moving on to the next section here. Red rains. Orthodoxy. Sand blown by the Sirocco from the Sahara to Europe, especially in the earthquake regions of Europe. There have been many falls of red substance, usually, but not always, precipitated in rain. Upon many occasions, these substances have been, in quotation marks, absolutely identified, in quotation marks, as sand from the Sahara. When I first took this matter up, I came across assurance after assurance, so positive to this effect that had I not been an intermediatist, I'd have looked no further. Samples collected from a rain at Genoa, samples of sand forwarded from the Sahara, in quotation marks, absolute agreement, in quotation marks, some writers said. Same color, same particles of quartz, even the same shells of diatoms mixed in. Then the chemical analysis, not a disagreement worth mentioning. Our intermediatist means of expression will be that with proper exclusions, after the scientific or theological method, anything can be identified with anything else. If all things are only different expressions of an underlying oneness. To many minds, there's rest and there's satisfaction in that expression, absolutely identified. Absoluteness, or the illusion of it, the universal quest. If chemists have identified substances that have fallen in Europe as sand from African deserts, swept up in African whirlwinds, that's persuasive to all the irritations, there we go, that occur to those cloistered minds that must repose in the concept of a snug, isolated little world, free from contact with cosmic wickednesses, safe from stellar guile, there we go, undisturbed by interplanetary prowlings and invasions. The only trouble is that a chemist's analysis, which seems so final and authoritative to some minds, is no more nearly absolute than is identification by a child or description by an imbecile. I take some of that back. I accept that the approximation is higher, but that it's based upon delusion, because there is no definiteness, no homogeneity, no stability, only different stages somewhere between them and indefiniteness, heterogeneity, and instability. There are no chemical elements, it seems, acceptable. There are no chemical elements. It seems acceptable that Ramsey and others have settled that, excuse me, the chemical elements are only another disappointment in the quest for the positive, as the definite, the homogeneous, homogeneous. Yeah, and words are hard. And the stable. If there were real elements, there could be a real science of chemistry. Let me look and see how long the next paragraph is. Okay, I can get that. Upon November 12 and 13, 1902, occurred the greatest fall of matter in the history of Australia. Upon the 14th of November, it rained mud in Tasmania. It was, of course, attributed to Australian whirlwinds, but according to the Monthly Weather Review 32-365, there was a haze all the way to the Philippines, also as far as Hong Kong. It may be that this phenomenon had no special relation with the even more tremendous of matter that occurred in Europe, February 1903. Let's see how big the next one is. That goes on for quite a ways, but I'll try to get through part of the next paragraph here. For several days, the south of England was a dumping ground from somewhere. If you'd like to have a chemist's opinion, even though it's only a chemist's opinion, see the report of the meeting of the Royal Chemical Society, April 2, 1903. Mr. E. G. Clayton read a paper upon some of the substance that had fallen from the sky, collected by him. The Sahara explanation applies mostly to falls that occur in southern Europe. Further away, the conventionalists are a little uneasy. For instance, the editor of the Monthly Weather Review 29-121 says of a red rain that fell near the coast of Newfoundland early in 1890, in quotations, it would be very remarkable, there we go, if this was Sahara dust, end quotations. Mr. Clayton said that the matter examined by him was merely wind-borne dust, in quotation marks here, from the roads and lanes of Wessex, in quotation marks. This opinion is typical of all scientific opinion, or theological opinion, or feminine opinion. Okay. All very well, except for what it disregards. I think I'm going to stop there because we have only about a minute left. And again, just to reiterate, that is Fort's words, not mine. But so here you have just so many examples of so many things going on. Mud falling from the sky in such large amounts, that's really wild because that's not just sand or dirt. That's all that with water and all that stuff mixed in. Who knows what else? So really amazing. And yeah, that's what we're getting into with this series. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoy it. And I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.